You're good to go.
Welcome, 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 everyone. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule today to meet with us to go over loan exit counseling, and congratulations on graduation. I know that this is a huge accomplishment. We're going to go over a lot of valuable information that you guys can carry with you. Now on to rotations or anything else that you have planned. All this information is valuable, and you can always come back and visit us even after graduation. This is presented by the financial wellness team from the Georgia campus, the Philly campus, and the South Georgia campus. Today we'll go over different loan types, interest, consolidation, loan repayment plans, and then loan forgiveness. So the most important thing is, what type of loans do you have? We have our federal loans, which is our federal unsubsidized loan, and which is used during undergraduate years. You have your unsubsidized loan, and then you have your graduate plus loan. Some students do take advantage of private loans, in which we will discuss those as well. The FIL loan, which is the Federal Family Education Loan, and then the Perkins loan, which we know is no longer in use. So interest accrues on your loan. So for the federal subsidized loan, we do know that interest started accruing after graduation. With the federal unsubsidized loan and the graduate plus loan, interest accrues on that loan at the time that the loan is dispersed. So if you have accepted the federal unsub loan and the graduate plus loan, interest has been accruing on your loan. You do have capitalization on your loan, and this is when interest is added into the principal of the loan. So capitalization usually comes into effect when you consolidate your loans and different things of that nature. And then you have your compound loan, and that's more so for if you have private student loans. And it's a lot of information that is entailed with the compound loan. So we always prefer that you speak with your private loan servicer in regards to that. Okay, so interest capitalization. So first, while you're in school, you have an in-school deferment. Once you graduate, you do have a grace period, which is and then you have the principal of the loan, which is when you enter into repayment. And then you see the interest pouring into the principal of the loan. So this is kind of like a demonstration. Okay, so what is loan consolidation? Many times when you have a federal loan, sometimes it can be a federal loan mixed with other loans. You have your graduate plus loan. So you want to consolidate all of these loans. A lot of times when students are interested in going into, public service loan forgiveness, or you want a single monthly payment, then you will consolidate all of your loans into one. Okay, so what are the pros and cons when consolidating your loan? Some of the pros are, of course, you get a lower monthly payment plan when you're in an income-driven repayment plan. If you have the FIL or Perkins loan, you can take advantage as well as a new income-driven repayment plan. Of course, the cons of that is you lose your remaining grace period. So if you consolidate right after graduation, then once you go into that consolidation period, you lose your grace period. So we always prefer that if you are considering consolidation, then you wait until closer to the end of your grace period before you apply to go into consolidation. And then it can also change your payment status and your interest is capitalized on the loan.
So now I'm going to go into loan refinancing. Loan refinancing is essentially when you take your, wait, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Loan refinancing is essentially when you sell your loan to a different lender and they will take your loan and give you a different interest rate. This type of process is not the best if you have federal student loans and you are looking to be a part of an income-driven repayment plan or do public service loan forgiveness, but it is an option for borrowers who borrow predominantly private loans or for someone who is just looking to make more aggressive payments than they would under an income-driven repayment plan. The pros and cons of loan refinancing. are, the first is that you can apply for a cosigner in order to have a lower interest rate. So for some private loans or some loan refinancing programs, they allow you to apply with a cosigner similar to like an endorser that you have for the Grad Plus loan. And if your cosigner has like a great credit history, that will sometimes benefit you and give you a lower interest rate. Obviously, the lower interest rate could lead to savings. If you are paying less money for your loans, then you'll have more money to save. And then also sometimes, in some cases, I wouldn't say in comparison to federal loan programs, but for private loans, sometimes you might find better repayment terms. Some of the cons are that you need to meet a higher eligibility requirement, which is why most of the time it requires you have a cosigner. You will be locked into a single repayment plan, meaning you can't switch like you can with the income-driven repayment plans for federal loans. And you will have the loss of the federal protections such as income-driven repayment plans and public service loan forgiveness, as well as disability discharge. So there are several different types of loan repayment plans. I'm assuming that this is the biggest reason why you guys are all here. This is what you want to learn about. So the first type of repayment plan is probably the one you've heard about the most, the standard repayment plan. That repayment plan requires that you pay off your loan in 10 years and 120 payments. The way the standard repayment plan is designed is so that your interest and your principal is paid off in that 120 payments. And this is the best type of loan repayment plan for borrowers who can afford to make higher monthly payments and want to pay off their loan as quickly as possible. We also have the graduated repayment plan. The graduated repayment plan essentially starts off lower and the payments will increase every 2 years. This is a 10-year standard repayment plan, but like I said, the payments will increase every 2 years based on your income. Then we have the extended fixed. This is essentially the same thing as a standard repayment plan, except instead of 10 years, you get 25 years to repay your loans. And then you have the extended graduated, which is the same thing as the graduated repayment plan, except you get 25 years to repay your loans. Then we have the income-driven repayment plans. I know this is kind of hard to read, so I'm just going to explain it. The first plan that you see up there is the SAVE plan. That was formerly called the Repay plan. That plan was the plan that we were recommending for borrowers, graduates for 2024. But as of 2025, we don't know the future of the SAVE plan or if it's going to continue to exist. So we're not going to talk that much about it. But technically speaking, you can still enroll in the SAVE plan, but we are expecting it to be discontinued by the time you guys enter repayment. Then we have the income-based repayment plan. This plan is very similar to the pay-as-you-earn plan, which I'm also going to be talking about. The income-based repayment plan, essentially your payment is based off of 10 or 15% of your discretionary income, depending on when your loan was taken out. If you want to know, the specs of your loans and whether or not you would be eligible for this plan, you can just send me an email and I can look at your loan history and determine for you which one would be the best. For the income-driven repayment plan or the income-based repayment plan, you are repaying your loans for 25 years. And we consider this to be the best for borrowers who have variable incomes or financial difficulties and borrowers with the older FIO loans. You guys probably don't have those loans anymore. Same thing with the Perkins loan, but this is a good plan for people in that situation. The next repayment plan is the pay-as-you-earn plan. This is the plan that I'm predominantly recommending for borrowers to enroll in at this time. It was very popular before the SAVE plan became briefly in effect. It pretty much has the same requirements and the same calculations, except under the pay-as-you-earn plan, your monthly payment is based off of 10% of your discretionary income. And the benefit of the pay-as-you-earn plan is that your monthly payment will never exceed what it would have been under the standard repayment plan. So there are some protections in place of the pay-as-you-earn plan that are not in place in the SAVE plan. And the one caveat for this plan is that you are only eligible if your first loan was borrowed after October 1st, 2007 and dispersed after October 1st, 2011. Again, if you don't know the specs of your loans, one you can determine based on when you started borrowing, like when you graduated high school, or if you only borrowed loans for PCOM, when you enrolled in PCOM. But if you don't know either of those and you just want an expert to tell you, you can just send us an email and we can send you your loan history. Oh, I forgot one. The last one is the income contingent repayment plan. This monthly payment plan is going to yield a higher monthly payment because it is based off of 20% of your discretionary income, or what you would pay under a fixed 12-year repayment plan. So essentially, you would think it's either based off of 20% of your discretionary income, or what you would pay ideally on standard repayment plan if that was a 12-year payment plan. And we say that this is best for borrowers with varying income and who want a longer loan repayment time. So if you're in a situation where you're already at the top of your income when you're graduating, like a PA student or something like that, and you want to make aggressive payments because you're not eligible for public service loan forgiveness, income contingent might be a good plan for you because it gives you a little bit more time to pay off the loan, but it's still an aggressive payment. All right, so there's two types of loan forgiveness that you can be eligible for. There are several types, technically speaking, but we're only going to talk about these two because these would affect the majority of PCOM students. So the first one is through an income-driven repayment plan. So in all of the income-driven repayment plans, there is the opportunity for loan forgiveness at the end of the plan. So if you're making your payments for 25 years, at the end of 25 years, the rest of your debt is forgiven, but it is considered taxable income. The other type of forgiveness is public service loan forgiveness. Everybody pretty much knows what that is. You have to be working for a nonprofit employer. You have to be working 30 hours or more per week. You have to be enrolled in an income-driven repayment plan. And in order to be eligible for that, you have to make 10 years of payments, 120 payments total. You can't skip any payments to jump ahead of time. And after your 120 payments are made, the rest of your debt is forgiven and it is not considered taxable income. So there is no tax requirement. It's just gone. Are we done? Do we have any questions?
And if we have any South Georgia students on this Zoom meeting right now, Tiffany is your financial wellness coordinator on your campus. Unfortunately, she couldn't be with us today. But if you have any additional questions that you do not want to ask here with everyone else, you can definitely send her an email or request a meeting. Same for Des and I as well.
Yes, hi, I do have a quick question.
Okay.
Hi, when it comes to the public service, does the employer have to be a 503B or 501? What do they have to be?
501.
Or,
They have to be a 501c3.
oh, okay, thank you.
And you can check to see if your employer is a 501c3 by using the PSLF help tool, which is on studentaid.gov.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Sorry. I was wondering if you're expecting that these public service repayments are always going to be available. Like, I don't know that you can predict something like that, but I've heard that those funds are not going to be available for our class.
Yeah, so what we are expecting right now, so the question is, do we expect the public service loan forgiveness and the IDR plans to be available for borrowers who are graduating in 2025? We expect that the income-based repayment plan and public service loan forgiveness will definitely be protected because those are created by being an act of Congress. So it would take an act of Congress in order to repeal them.
Okay.
So those two plans we can consider safe right now. So if if you're nervous or unsure about what the future of loan repayment is going to look like, you can enroll in the income-based repayment plan. And just like I said, it is the same calculation to determine your monthly payment as a pay-as-you-earn plan.
Okay, thank you.
We do have a question. Are we able to apply for income-driven repayment plans right now, or is it better to wait? We definitely recommend that you wait until closer to the end of your grace period before you enroll in an income-driven repayment plan. But of course, if you want to go ahead and enroll right after graduation, you do have that option to do so. Your grace period begins after graduation, and repayment will probably begin for you all around beginning of December.
One thing that I like to note is that last year, 2024 graduates had a tough time enrolling in their income-driven repayment plans. A lot of them received messages saying that they needed to consolidate in order to enroll in an income-driven repayment plan. Some more information about consolidating. When you do consolidate, your interest is going to capitalize and they're going to take a weighted average to determine your new monthly interest rate. But if you're in that situation, there's no harm to consolidating. It just creates one big loan and you'll have like a more predictable interest rate. So it might be within your best interest to do that, just so you don't run into any issues like the 2024 class did.
Yes, and you do
Um,
have the option as well to waiting until closer to the end of your grace period to start consolidating as well. And when you do go through the consolidation process, it does take about 3 months for them to consolidate all of your loans before they give you your new interest rate and monthly payment.
We have a question here.
Another question about the public service forgiveness. Does that start the day that we start our residency, or does that start after the grace period if we choose to do a grace period?
So it's gonna start when you are actively in loan repayment. So
Okay,
if you are looking to kind of skip the grace period, then that would be a situation in which you would want to consolidate.
got it. Okay, thank you.
Yes, you can start when you enroll in an income-driven repayment plan. Those months or years that you are in that income-driven repayment plan can count towards public service loan forgiveness. When you consolidate your loans, it will be consolidating all of your federal loans. So if you have the federal Grad Plus loan and the federal unsubsidized loan, yes, those can be consolidated together.
We do have some questions in the chat. Do we want
I'm answering them out loud. I'm trying, so we can kind of piggyback.
Yeah. Can you start with the public service loan repayment plan and switch it? So public service loan forgiveness is not a repayment plan. It's just a loan forgiveness tool. So if you are working for a nonprofit employer and then you switch to, like a public or a private business that is not considered a non-for-profit, it's not going to hurt or help you in any way. And you can always return to public service loan forgiveness if you return to a nonprofit employer. Same thing goes if you start at a not non-for-profit and switch to a non-for-profit. Same thing happens there. You just, on your application, you'll indicate your first day of employment, and that will start the clock for your 120 payments. Someone is asking if you have to consolidate Graduate Plus loans or the regular federal loans. You don't technically have to do that, but in our experience, specifically talking about last year, many students ran into the barrier where they weren't able to enroll in their income-driven repayment plans without consolidating. So it might be within your best interest to do so. Do you think there's any other questions we haven't answered?
I heard consolidation makes a new loan, so it may not have the same protections as the original loans we took out, including public service loan forgiveness and IBR plans.
You want me to answer it?
You want to do it or you want me to do it?
I can answer it. So essentially, if you are going to make the decision to consolidate, you want to do it when you enter repayment for the first time. If you delay it at any point or, wait to enroll at a later date, you will run into the situation where your loans might not be eligible. So if you plan to consolidate, do it right away. That way you don't have to worry about, whether or not these loans are eligible. I think that's like the best advice I could give about that.
And also, if you are interested in public service loan forgiveness, they are going to recommend that you consolidate your loan. Just so all of your loans can be one large lump sum and not more than one loan still lingering. So if you have read up on it or anything of that nature, it's always going to recommend that you consolidate.
Right, because once you get to the forgiveness aspect, it's going to be a lot easier to forgive one loan than several different loans that might extend the process a little longer. We have a question in Philly.
Like, not to beat a dead horse, but I know that you said that it takes about 3 months to consolidate. Can we start the process now and then still have the grace period until December, or do you have to start the process of consolidation when you're repaying your loan?
You can't start the consolidation process until you graduate.
Yeah.
So once you graduate, you can consolidate your loans. I wouldn't do it any sooner than then, and I would try to take care of it right away. When you consolidate your loans, it does technically put you into repayment that 3 months later. So if you're a person who wants to start making progress towards PSLF sooner, then as soon as you graduate, you can consolidate, then you'll have 3 extra months of, payments to go towards that PSLF if you have a grace period. But ultimately, it's your decision. You can always wait until the end of your grace period to give yourself a 9 month grace period. But, it depends on what your goals are, I would say, or if you don't foresee yourself staying at a nonprofit for the full 10 years.
So like you could theoretically like do it when you graduate and
Mhm.
you'll still have like a 3 month grace
Mhm.
period after.
Yep.
And then, in order to be considered for the, public service loan forgiveness, like, do we have to do the application in a certain timeline or like?
You just
'cause I
have-
know some there's issues with them.
Yeah, you just have to submit the application, and just in a timely manner. When you submit the application, you're gonna report your first day of employment, so the clock is gonna start from then.
Okay, so you'll do it before basically like during your grace period or?
Yeah, I always recommend that you do it on your first day of work.
Okay.
I have a question actually. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. My name is Joy. I'm from the Georgia campus. I have a bit of a unique situation. I'm in the position where once I graduate medical school, I'm planning to pay off a pretty big principal payment on my loans, and then planning to refinance and pay off all my loans within 2 years using private refinancing. Um, in this scenario, when could I apply? When would you best recommend me looking at some private financial loans? And then how do I go about doing it? If I apply via like SoFi, for example, will they handle the transfer if I transfer it from federal to private?
You want me to answer?
That's a great question. Yes, Des, can you take that?
Sure. I would say that if you're looking to refinance, it's not a bad idea to start scoping out, the rates right now. You can probably find a listicle on like NerdWallet or Investopedia of who has the best rates right now. I would only recommend refinancing if the rate that you're going to get is going to be lower than your current rate for your loans. Obviously, I think that's self-explanatory, but I just need to say it. And if you do choose to refinance, they're gonna take care of all the processing for you.
Okay, great. That's perfect. And then I did a quick follow up on that. Before you decide to refinance using a private institution or a loan servicer, are you able to see what the federal government will offer if you refinance all of your loans, or you can only do that if you say I'm ready to consolidate them?
The federal government only offers consolidation. They don't offer refinancing. So if you wanted to yeah, I would say that you would kind of have to go in blind because I don't think there's a way to like simulate what your rate would be if you consolidated. You might be able to like go through the application and then see what it spits out, but I can't guarantee that. So I would say it's probably best to scope out the rates and then maybe if you can communicate with your loan servicer to let them know that you're thinking about refinancing and see if they can help you find like a weighted average calculator. So that way you can weigh the pros and cons between, which rate is going to be the better rate.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you so much.
Yeah, problem.
If our residency program is a 501(c)(3), is it helpful to start payments sooner? Skip part of the grace period so that you get to your 120 payments faster for public service loan forgiveness? Honestly, that's completely up to you. If you want to take advantage of the grace period just to get acclimated to your residency program, then definitely take advantage of that and start and go into the public service loan forgiveness closer to the end of your grace period, but it would completely just be up to you and how you want to do it.
The one is asking if you can consolidate at the same time that you apply for the income-driven repayment plans, and the answer is yes. You can do all of that in one application. So the consolidation application, the first part has you select the loans that you want to consolidate. Part 2 is selecting your income-driven repayment plan, and Part 3, they ask if you want to be considered for public service loan forgiveness. So yes, you can do all 3 of those things in one application.
You can start your consolidation now. I'm sorry, after graduation, or you can wait until closer to the end of your 6-month grace period. It's completely up to you. You can definitely contact your loan servicer. I do recommend that you do become familiar with your loan servicer. Definitely reach out to your loan servicer if you are thinking about consolidating now, but if you want to wait until closer to the end of your grace period, you can definitely do so.
Someone asked about consolidating their loans with their spouse. When you consolidate your loans, they will still be 2 separate loans. Same thing if you have subsidized loans versus unsubsidized loans. You'll have one subsidized large loan, one unsubsidized large loan. But when you are married, it doesn't combine your debt in actuality, just theoretically, I guess. Because when they're determining your monthly payment, that is when the partner's debt comes into consideration. Essentially, the payment is prorated based on who owes what percentage of the debt. So if you are in a situation where you owe 70% and your partner owes 30%, you'll make 70% of the payment and your partner will make 30% of the payment.
Does your debt die with you, like your educational?
Yes.
I mean, just curious.
Yes, it
I'm not
does, yeah.
doing-
Yeah, I looked it up last week.
No dark thoughts.
I had a student ask me. So yeah, it does die with you. It's not like credit cards, where you have to assign someone to pay it off. It does, which is great. But don't figure.
Don't get any ideas, yeah.
Right. Don't figure that.
And do we have any additional questions? Again, we want to thank you all so much for taking time out of your schedule. I know that many of you are busy with rotations and things of that nature, but just taking the time out to attend this session. If you have any additional questions, if you want to go over your personal loans that you have borrowed with one of us, please, if you're on the Philly campus, reach out to Des. If you're on the Georgia campus, you will reach out to me. And if you're on the South Georgia campus, you will reach out to Tiffany. Des and I are going to do a random drawing at the end of this presentation. If you are selected, we will send you an email for you to pick up your prize, depending on which campus you're on, either again, myself, Tiffany, or Des. Even after graduation, if you have additional questions, please reach out to us. We host alumni town halls, as well as we speak with our alumni students all the time. So you can reach out to us. We're always available.